Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is an interesting topic which we've been covering for about 2 years now, and that is the whole concept of integrating content management systems with a marketing automation application such as Eloqua. And for this presentation, we are talking about Sitecore content management systems in particular. Just to give you a little bit of background about who we have on the call today, I've got my colleague Muktesh Kanpal. Muktesh has spent a good part of a decade on working with Sitecore. He's also worked with Drupal, Electron, and Adobe CQ5, so he's got a lot of experience on the content management side. He works at eDynamic both as a solutions architect as well as a digital strategist. So he's got a wealth of experience there. I've provided his email address, so if you need to get in touch with him, even after this presentation, feel free to do so. I myself coincidentally ran demand gen marketing at Eloqua for about 5 years. I was then a customer twice, and in the last 2.5, 3 years, I've been a consultant, primarily helping customers from a revenue performance perspective, covering marketing automation and CRM. And then that's my email in case you need to get in touch with me. So just a little bit of background about who we are at eDynamic. We are a global consulting firm. We focus on B2B specifically, and we support our customers with marketing-based technologies. So we cover a whole slew of applications, tools, technologies that primarily B2B marketers would be using. In our kind of services portfolio, we cover strategy, so everything from kind of roadmap and strategy type work. We do vendor selection work. We also do campaign planning as well as KPIs, measurement, analytics, that kind of thing. Because we are well entrenched in the web space, we have a pretty robust design and experience group focusing on creative, user experience, mobile design, and so on. From a technology implementation perspective, we cover content management systems it's one of the topics today. We do intranets, we do marketing automation and CRM. We also do a lot of work on community platforms and business intelligence. So those are some of the other sides of our business that I just wanted to mention there. And in terms of engagement, because we're a global model, Muktesh is actually speaking out of India. I'm speaking out of Toronto. Our head office is in New York. We do a lot of different types of engagements. Some are just project and consulting based. We also provide kind of implementation work under our global delivery model. So we provide demand centers and services like that for global customers. We also provide managed services for companies that might be looking for support for campaign-related work and so on. So that's another area in which we focus. In terms of this topic that we're covering today, which is Sitecore and Eloqua, we've been partners with both vendors for quite a long time. Our Sitecore relationship actually goes pretty far back to 2005. Our Eloqua relationship started more recently, kind of when I joined eDynamic to kind of build out the practice. So we've got both fairly robust teams on both sides of the fence, both on the Sitecore side, which is what Muktesh covers, and on the Eloqua side, which is what I cover. We've got fairly large teams on both sides to service most of our global client base. To come to the topic, why integrate Eloqua and Sitecore? Why is marketing automation and CMS? What's the business case for actually implementing these tools? There's a lot of confusion in the marketplace from CMS vendors that have a lot of the functionality that a tool like Eloqua provides. And there's a lot of fuzziness, and because we work with both platforms, we know the high points, the strong aspects of both products and their foundational kind of core. And we have leveraged both of these to bring the two together in kind of a very compelling way. That makes it useful for both the web teams as well as for the demand gen and the marketing teams who are leveraging Eloqua. So what we're going to cover in today's session are two primary use cases. Then we'll demo them, and then we'll have a Q&A session after that. So let's talk a little about why we need to integrate these. So the first kind of reason why would be marketers are using a lot of tools. So that is, common knowledge. Some of the tools, so for instance, Eloqua and CRM are very well knit together. And one of the basic benefits of that is that all of that digital body language, all of that activity that is being driven by marketing is now made visible to the sales team through the integration between marketing automation and CRM. But what is commonly missed out from this is the website. And we often see that when salespeople are engaged with their prospects or with their customers, and they're talking to them about a particular product or a particular service or solution, invariably these customers or prospects land up on the website. So they go to the corporate website to kind of validate what that conversation was all about. And when they do that, they typically either they do not find the information, or the information is really hard to get at. And that's because very often websites, especially with larger organizations where you've got a content management system in place, the task of updating the website is pretty big. It's a large endeavor, and the downside to that is that sometimes when sales are talking about new features, new products, and things in that way, that has not made its way to the website as yet. And there's kind of like this disconnect between what prospects or customers are seeing on the website, and we kind of see these as silos. And because these are silos, if we integrated these two platforms together, then we could have this common view for the customer so that they could see the same information that you're leveraging through campaigns, through Eloqua, through those programs on the website. And the net of that is that you can now drive personalization, engagement, and therefore conversion. So by kind of having this common view, having this tight sync in content, in messaging that both is being driven through the campaigns as well as through the sales conversations, and then being visible on the website makes it a very compelling argument for integration. The second, which is the third point on the slide, is something that's very real in a marketing department, which is that you've got a web team and then you've got a demand gen or a marketing team. There might be an acquisition team or a customer marketing team. But what typically happens in this situation is that there's a lot of back and forth. If the web team needs to integrate, let's say, Eloqua forms, it's a little tedious because the Eloqua team has to perhaps build out the form and then provide the code to the web team, and vice versa. If there's content on the website, that maybe the marketing team needs to leverage for their landing pages and their email, it becomes a lot more tedious because they've either got to copy and paste, take that content, reformat it, convert it back to kind of deconstruct it, reconstruct it back into HTML. And that can take time. And in a business where you're growing, where you are, you've got a gazillion things to do, this becomes just added tedium. So the other use case is to be able to take content, press releases, product information off your corporate website and very easily leverage that information within your emails, within your landing pages in the Eloqua system. So these are the two primary reasons that we see why bringing these two applications together and tightly integrating them makes a lot of sense. So this is that point that I was making, which is how we bring these two together is having the data kind of flow between the web content management system and the marketing automation system. So between Sitecore and between Eloqua, we have this almost back and forth of the data backend. Both of these systems have very robust databases. We bring the data together, mesh them together, and enrich the data by what the website's telling us, to the metadata, to their the recommendation engine, and then the metadata that it's capturing on the behavior, along with the behavioral information that the marketing automation tool is capturing, as well as the form data that the marketing automation tool has captured, along with perhaps other integrations that the marketing automation system will have, such as integration with the CRM system or with other tools such as demand-based data enhancement tools, where you're bringing in rich data to enrich your profile information about the customer. So I'm going to now pass it over to Muktesh, as he's going to walk you through the demo. He'll give you a little bit of an overview of how we've constructed these integrations, and then we'll go into the demo. So give me 1 second while I pass the baton on to Muktesh.
Thank you, everyone, for joining, and thanks, Sean, for having me take over from here. So before I even start showing you the demonstration and we get into the weeds, I want to, give you a little context about what this whole connector beef is. So the visual that you see on your screen right now, it's a conceptual representation of what the connector is able to accomplish. So the connector really came into being with the very idea of marketers conventionally dealing with marketing silos, and silos as in different systems, right? So there was an apparent need to connect different silos, and specifically the CMS and the marketing automation system, which are used quite often. So we figured that there is a communication channel, a facilitator channel, if you will, that needs to be formulated, if you will, that can exchange data between the marketing automation system and the CMS system. So essentially, when we talk about the connector is a mechanism to exchange any type of objects between the two systems. So from a marketing perspective and from a business perspective, it could be profiles, it could be permissions, it could be content, it could be segmentation information, it could be any data between the two systems, if you will. So it's essentially, if I may sound a little technical, it's a communication bus, if you will. So what we are demonstrating today are two use cases that are built around that, but it could accomplish more than that. The next slide that you see on my screen right now, this is again a level deep representation of how we use the best of both worlds, as Sean said, right? So Sitecore is a CMS. It has its own strong points, if you will. So it's a very strong personalization and rules engine, which is very effective for scenarios like targeting and personalization and user behavior tracking. So the whole MVT and A/B testing, it can really do a very, very good job with that from a website perspective, from a landing page perspective. It also is a very good content repository, right? At the same time, you have Eloqua, which is the best of the breed marketing automation system, and can be a single source of truth for all your campaign and marketing programs, if you will. So what we are really doing is connecting these systems. You can actually also have other systems, as Sean alluded to. You could have the CRM systems like Demandbase and other systems interact with these systems using that channel, that communication bus, if you will. So we are allowing you to exchange data and connect those dots, connect those silos. So I just wanted to kind of give you that context, that bedrock, if you will, and now I can take you to the actual demo. Okay, so let me first start with the storyline. So there are two use cases, right, that we're talking about at a high level. So the first use case is around a scenario when an anonymous user comes to your site, and this is not a user that's identified either in Sitecore or Eloqua, if you will. So when a new user comes, there is a click pattern that the user follows. Based on those click patterns, you can, using Sitecore's strengths in terms of personalization and profile data point capturing, you capture all that, and you kind of progressively profile that anonymous user into a known user, if you will, and this is all happening within Sitecore. And then you capture that data and pass on that data to Eloqua, which we are using as the single source of truth, if you will, and then Eloqua would take all those data points into account and send personalized communication and messaging to the user. So when the user would receive it, the user would be able to kind of, using that email, he would be able to go to the website again. So this is really kind of closing the loop, and he or she would see a unified communication across web as a channel and email as a channel. So that is the first use case, the long and short of the first use case, and I'll demonstrate you in a bit. So then there is the second use case, which is leveraging the content from within the CMS system in context of Eloqua, right? So all the rich content that you have within CMS, you could bring it over. So we have created a middle cloud component, which eventually will kind of morph into a cloud connector within Eloqua, we hope. So you could log into that, get your Sitecore content in a nice intuitive interface, and select the right content that you want to bring over, generate scripts from in there, and then bring that into your landing page or emails. So we'll be covering these two use cases, and I'll be just demonstrating these. So what you see now is the home page of a website when an anonymous user kind of lands onto your website, right? So this is the landing page, and I'm not a nurtured user, not in Sitecore, not in Eloqua, and this is the first time I visit the site. But in this interface, you see this rotator down here, which is a banner rotator. I could provide an indication of my interest. So let's say I click onto the beginner banner. So as soon as I do that, I go to the Insight page, and you see a list of all the beginner products out there, right? So I go further in, and I click on a specific product. So behind the veil, what's happening is Sitecore's personalization and profiling system, it's kind of capturing this data, right? It's absorbing all this information. The user doesn't know about it, and this is all happening using this click stream, if you will. So I keep on with my, clicking around on the website. Now I go to articles, and let's say I go to a specific article. And as soon as I did that, you see that it kind of fires up this pop-up. Now, what's happening is that based on a certain profiling mechanism, the scoring mechanism that I've set up within Sitecore, it kind of fires this pop-up and asks for my email while collecting all those data points through the click pattern that I was tracking, right? So let me just punch in my email address here. So the interesting part here is that the system only asks for the email address. But now I'll take you to Eloqua quickly. And keep in mind that all this was happening in context of Sitecore. So the website is Sitecore, the behavior is within Sitecore, the website, the web pages that I'm clicking around. And now I go to Eloqua. And I would try to take you to the interface, the form where all this information is captured. And you see it right there. So here's what is happening. So all the information, all the user tracking, the behavior tracking that was happening in Sitecore, that's passed on to Eloqua. So it's the push scenario, if you will, right? So I captured it in Sitecore, now it's available within Eloqua. So Eloqua is working as a single source of truth. And the more important point, I only asked for the email address, if you remember, right? But it has more data in here. It has data about the product interest, about articles, perhaps my area of interest, and the user type based on some segmentation that I've done in Sitecore. So I'm a beginner and I have been looking for beginner products, right? So I have all this information passed on to Eloqua. Now if I could go back, so if I go back to the site as a revisiting user, if I'm visiting again, here's what happens. This time around, I see that everything is kind of orchestrated to address my needs. You know, everything is about beginners, right? So you see the banner, you see the right trail, which has stuff about beginners. You see what's popular, it's about beginners. If I go to products, I see that all the products are about beginners, right? I don't see those products for professionals or anyone else anymore. So it's very focused, it's very targeted, right? And this has happened because of the data points that I collected on the way. So that's not it. So that's just a part of it. What also happens, if I may take you to the inbox, Eloqua in turn has sent me an email, and this email is based on the data points that we gleaned through kind of working with Sitecore personalization engine. And you see that this email is very personalized. It's for the beginners. It talks about wildlife. So it's actually kind of closing the loop, right? So it's using that data that was collected in Sitecore, personalizing emails in Eloqua to kind of target and further nurture me as a lead, if you will. So talking about closing the loop, if I click here now, if I receive this email at some point and I click here now, it will take me to the home page, and you'll see that in a moment. And it is again personalized for the beginner. So this is just one example of what you could accomplish. The possibilities are immense, right? I mean, this is we kind of sliced and diced this and made it really simple, but you could do this nurturing over and over again. You could build gates, and you could really build some complex rules around it and benefit from the power of Sitecore in terms of its personalization engine, targeting capabilities, content, and benefit from Eloqua's capability in terms of using that data and targeting that lead from an email channel perspective, marketing automation channel perspective. So that is the first use case that we wanted to demonstrate.
Yeah, Muktesh, just if I could just make one more point here.
Sure.
So what you saw was from that email, which was personalized. You went back to the corporate website, which this is a simplified version, as Muktesh had said. But if you had to integrate a platform with other third-party systems like your CRM system or data enhancement tools like Demandbase and so on, then if you brought that data into Eloqua and you were able to pass that to Sitecore, you could technically configure business rules within Sitecore to interpret those other data points. So things like, in the B2B, traditional B2B environment, that would be things like revenue, that would be title, that might be industry vertical. All of those things can be brought in through D&B, through Demandbase, to something like that. And you can now take metadata from your Sitecore kind of clickstream, pass that to Eloqua. You're now enriching it with information from all these third-party systems. You've got a richer profile, and based on that richer profile, when they come to the corporate site, now you can serve up imagery based on certain verticals. You can present case studies based on certain roles or titles of the person, and so on. So as Muktesh was saying, the possibilities of actually bringing a prospect from kind of a top-of-the-funnel cursory interface with the website down to a more involved dialogue becomes a very compelling reason why these terms can be issued. Muktesh, I think you can move to the next use case.
Sure, great. So let me just take you to the other use case quickly. Okay, so this use case, and again, I talked about it at the very beginning, but this use case is primarily about using content, the rich content that is available within the Sitecore system, and bringing it over to Eloqua. So you don't need to recreate it, as I said, using the power of Sitecore. So I'll just show you. So this is like a cloud connector, if you will. So you could very much use your Eloqua credentials and log into the interface. And as soon as you log in, so what you see is a fairly simple and intuitive interface. So, and I'll show you Sitecore in a moment, because Sitecore interface can be fairly convoluted and overwhelming at times if you're not really well versed with the interface. So what we give you is a very simple interface where you can search for the content that you want to leverage within Eloqua, within your marketing automation system. So let me just go ahead and show you that. So I searched for some news items, right? So what really happened behind the veil, it went to Sitecore, it kind of pulled the relevant content that I had configured that I wanted to use in Eloqua, and I have these 3 news articles available here. So I could select any of these articles and bring them over to Eloqua. Over here, what it really allows me to do is 3 things. One, you could very well preview this item. So if I hit the preview button, I could see the preview of this page, and this is just some sample content in here. The other 2 buttons are critical, right? So this button is both these buttons are actually about generating an embedded script. So you could use them in your landing pages, and you could use them in your emails. I'll show you both the scenarios, if you will. So if I hit this button, you see that it generates an embedded script right here. I could take this embedded script, go to my Eloqua instance, and and in this case, I'm going to open an existing landing page, but I think it'll get the point across what you can accomplish with it. I could use that embedded script, and I could put it right here. So I've already put this embedded script here, as you can see. And you can save and further publish this landing page. Now, if I go to this landing page, which now is an Eloqua landing page, so this page that you see right now, it's an Eloqua landing page. So what you've really done, you have made the Sitecore content available to Eloqua landing page. So here's the best part. If this content gets updated in Sitecore, because the content sits in Sitecore as it's the content repository, if you will, it will automatically be reflected here in this interface in your landing page. You don't need to update it or anything. So that's one part of this use case that I wanted to demonstrate, really kind of getting that content and using it here. The other part, and let me just go back to, let me close the landing page quickly. Okay, so I go back to the search interface. There's this other guy right here towards right, and what it really allows you to do is do pretty much the same thing. You could generate the embedded script, but this time around, this embedded script is for emails, if you will, because this guy, the green button, will not really be able to generate a script which you could use in emails. So you could have the complete HTML object copied from here. You could take it to Eloqua and use it the same way you used it for the landing page. So I'll show you. One of the existing emailers that I created for this demonstration. Okay, all right. All right, so if you see my screen now, this script right here is the script you kind of get from that, clicking that script button towards the right. And in the preview, you can see that all this content is brought over. So, so this was the second part of how you could use the content from Sitecore within your emails. There is another quick aspect to it that I want to touch upon. There would be scenarios when you really do not want to kind of bring complete content from Sitecore. You just maybe want to bring parts of it, and you want to create the complete emailer or landing page, in Eloqua, if you will, right? So if that would happen, that's also possible. Now I'll take you to Sitecore quickly. So the interface that you have up on my screen right now, this is something called Sitecore Desktop. So towards the left, you have organization of all the content on your website. This is a fairly simple demo site, so you don't see much content. It's called Content Tree. Towards the right, you have the details of that item that you selected, right? So these are the 3 news items that you are seeing there in our connector interface, if you will. So if I have already selected one item right here, and if I could take you down here in the details, you would see that there is, we have created, and we call it Eloqua RSS content. So this, I just want this field to be available in a landing page. Let's say that. So if I go back to Eloqua, and I happen to have something already available, okay, so I have to go back again, I guess. So it will open this landing page, and you see that this whole landing page is actually created within Eloqua. So it's not unlike the other two scenarios that I explained in terms of bringing content over. It doesn't bring the whole thing over because you perhaps don't want to do that, but just a part of it. So we used Eloqua's cloud component, and if I could show you the public URL of this landing page, you would be able to see the sample content from Sitecore. So if you remember what I showed you, the behind the veil look of Sitecore, you had this field available within Sitecore. So if you just want part and excerpts of content from within Sitecore and do not want to do the whole landing page or content in Sitecore or Eloqua, you could do the whole thing in Eloqua and bring only parts of it. So these are just some examples of what you could possibly accomplish, different types of data exchange. So the first use case, I'm just trying to give you the sum and substance. First use case was about how you connect the dots, how you could push data and pull data, push from Sitecore, pull it back and personalize both ways in Sitecore web experience as well as the email experience on the Eloqua side. And this use case is about how you could leverage the content that is available within Sitecore as a repository, expose it to Eloqua, and bring it in different forms. So this is all I wanted to demonstrate. Sean, over to you.
Thanks, Muktesh. So at this point, as Muktesh had recapped, we've got these two use cases. One is about personalization. Just to recap, if you've got an anonymous visitor, you can engage them using Sitecore's engine, put up a very brief form, but embellish that information from what Sitecore is capturing in terms of the back-end kind of metadata or behavioral information. Be able to personalize that, pass that to to Eloqua, and then embellish that with CRM information like from Salesforce.com or Fusion or Dynamics or any of the other CRM systems that you might be using. Embellish that with information from third-party data sources like data.com, Demandbase, OneSource, ZoomInfo, and so on, DNB. Bring that information in and then further kind of personalize that information. So that was the first use case. It is a little more complex because you have to strategize on figuring out the content matrix and the business rules for driving that personalization. But once you do that, and we've had a few examples where we've actually implemented this with customers, the end result is kind of an elevated level of conversion and engagement. The more practical aspect of this whole, let me just whip through this. Gotta love animation. Right. So the next and more practical example use case is how do you get content from your CMS system into Eloqua? So one of the most useful examples of that would probably be a newsletter. If you've got a newsletter, all you do is you create a template, bring in standard content from maybe your press area, from your product area, and so on. Typically from month to month, you technically do not have to do much work. You do not have to reconstruct your templates. Whatever content has got updated on the corporate website can automatically be reflected. And this interface that you see here will eventually be launched as a cloud component from within Eloqua itself. So you just click on the cloud component. You're on a landing page or an email. You access the cloud component. This login information pops up. you are able to get into an app where you can search for specific content that you want to pull, and then be able to preview that item, and then get like a YouTube script or something like that, just basically get a code snippet. You can also use HTML if it's an email, or you can use RSS. So that's kind of the whole nuts and bolts of how these two integration use cases work. Angela, are there any questions from the audience? I think we have a few minutes to take questions.
Thanks, Sean. We do have one question right now from the Q&A panel. The question is, does the integration functionality work with Eloqua 9?
Yes, it does. And Muktesh, do you want to talk about Eloqua 9?
Sure, absolutely. So the short answer is absolutely yes. So initially when we built the connector, we built it with Eloqua 9. There was slight change in the APIs, so we made an uplift and made it available for Eloqua 10. So it works both with Eloqua 9 and Eloqua 10.
Great. Okay. If anybody else would like to pose a question in the chat or Q&A panels, pardon me, please go ahead. I'll also open up the phone lines if somebody wanted to ask their question directly by phone. So you may need to unmute your line with *6 or #6. So we'll just wait a couple of minutes to see if there are any more questions. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else online, so we'll have last call for questions. Okay, I think that's it. So thank you very much, Sean and Muktesh. That's great. It's wonderful to see all the nuts and bolts and how everything fits together with your app. So thank you so much for taking the time to present for us today. And as I said, this session is being recorded. We will post that to our Eloqua YouTube channel. There will be a link in a few days anyway from Topliners to that recording. We also have a couple of people who have requested the slide deck. So if that's all right, Sean and Muktesh, that I share that with people?
Yes, of course. We have some of the personalization information on the App Cloud. So for those of you that might be interested in getting some of that information, or if you want to contact us, something else that we've been working with the engineering team on is we will be plugging this into Eloqua as a cloud component, so it'll be easily accessible for those of you that use Sitecore. We also have another application that has been approved and is ready to be put into production, and that is with Brightcove. So if you're using Brightcove, you're a Brightcove customer, or you're using video, then look out for an announcement about our integration, or Eloqua's integration with Brightcove, because I think that is also quite compelling for personalization and be able to embed Brightcove videos into your emails and landing pages.
Okay, terrific. All right, thank you everybody for joining, and have a great day.